The next question I have is, have you ever had a case of mistaken identity, either where someone mistook you for someone that you weren't, or you mistook somebody for someone they weren't? Have you ever had that happen? I put that out on Facebook. There's a really interesting story of this lady who got mistaken for this couple's daughter that had passed away years ago, and come to find they just kept staring at her, and come to find out they were born the same month and the same year as each other, their daughter and her. Kind of interesting. So when I was in the late 90s, I had longer hair down to about here, and I frequently had people come up to me and say, "Man, you know who you look just like? You look just like Kid Rock." And I got that all the time, where they'd be like, "You know who you look just like?" I'm like, "Kid Rock." They're like, "Yeah, Kid Rock, just like him." And then when the Spider-Man movies came out with Tobey Maguire, the 2000s, I started getting that. "You look like that Spider-Man guy." But then I had an incident where I got mistaken for somebody else. I was at Poblano's, which is over on Main Street. It's a Mexican restaurant on Main Street in New Bixby. And I'm walking by this table, and this guy stops me. He's like, "Hey, man." And I was like, "Hey." And he's like, It's me. It's me." And I'm like, "I don't know who you are." And he's like, "You know who I am. We went to high school together. You know you went to school with me at Whitehall." I said, "Man, I grew up in Michigan. I went to high school in Michigan." He's like, he just kept looking at me like, "No, you are that guy that I went to school with." He was like in denial. I'm like, "No, I promise you, I'm not him." He's like, "Well, you got a twin running around somewhere then." And then one time when I was a kid, I mistook somebody for my dad. So I went into this store with my dad, and I'm following him around. I'm a little kid. I'm like, I don't know, 5 or 6, something. And I'm following my dad around in the store, and somehow I got separated from my dad, and I start following this other guy through the store. And I'm walking, and I'm like, "Man, Dad is just walking really fast. Does he not know I'm trying to keep up with him?" Like, he's just flying through the store, and I'm like, "Dad! Dad! Dad!" And I still remember this guy's face. Like, it was a vivid memory for some reason. He turns around, and he looks at me and goes, "Dad, I'm not your dad." And I was like, "No, you're not. Oh, no, I need to find my dad." I remember his face. So we in America, we have a case of mistaken identity when it comes to Christianity. And what I mean by that is, some people, when you ask them what it means to be a follower of Jesus, they have this certain picture in their mind of what it means. They might say, "Well, I think it just means you just go to church. That's what it means. You go to church." Or it just means I'm a Christian in name only. I just carry, if somebody asks me, "Well, what religion are you?" I'd say, "Well, I'm a Christian." It doesn't really mean anything. They don't really do anything with it. They're just a Christian, right? And most of the time, because they grew up in America, which is a Christian nation, so they just associate themselves with that. Say, I guess I'm a Christian, right? I want to clarify that today, because I believe we need to understand, when you have a good understanding of who we are as followers of Jesus, what our identity is, and that when we truly realize what we actually are according to the Bible, it will change the way we live. It will change the way we think, which will then change the way we live. So we're going to look at a couple of pictures of identity, of our identity in Christ, starting in John chapter 1.